something that's totally different than someone else. It's like watching a movie. It's like viewing a beautiful photo. Everyone has a different take on it, so please don't be shy. And again, what is the significance of the title? And would you have given the book a different title? Okay, here we go, thank you.
It was significant because when your older son went to Miami and there was cloudy skies there.
Okay, so you think that. Okay, well that was a story that I was just telling you about my son this past weekend, okay? That might be a thought for another book, but in reading this book, okay, my son's visit to Miami happened this past weekend, so I just kind of told you that, but if you could think back to why it might be Cloudy Skies Over Miami as the title. This girl right here?
Because when he landed, the plane said it was cloudy skies over Miami.
Yes, that's exactly one reason we can look at it, because the pilot made an announcement of, here are people coming from New York and Staten Island, and it's cold, and you really want to hear it's warm in Florida. And if you've ever taken a plane trip and you hear the pilot announce, you're kind of praying, oh, I hope it's good. Cloudy skies over Miami with a temperature reading of 78. Does anybody else know why it might be called cloudy skies also?
Because at the end of the story, Josh thought that his uncle and his grandpa got in the boat accident.
Okay, that's another way to view it. Not so much what was said, but from your feelings that cloudy skies, meaning dark and damp, Josh may have believed that his grandpa and his best friend were in a boating accident. Good job there, very good job, because sometimes when you read, you need to read between the lines. Thank you. Would you have given it a different title, or did you like that title? You like the title. Okay, anybody else? Yes?
I would have given it a very bad fever in my hand.
Bad what?
Fever. Because it's like he's having a fever and he doesn't really know what's happening and he's all confused.
Okay, good thought. Now, what would you have done? Okay, let's say you've already told me that you haven't flown alone. But what would you have done if you were being annoyed by a little child next to you? Whoa, that's a rough question. Okay, someone who didn't get a chance? Okay. That's a very, you know, I think if I were on a plane, one time I have to tell you, I was going to the Dominican Republic with my family, and there was a little boy across the aisle who sadly enough got ill and threw up. And it was kind of projectile throwing up. And I was saying, okay, if he does it again, I was coming close to it, saying, please change my seat. But then, fortunately, it stopped. But I was close to it. So that's a very assertive thing. If you're really being annoyed, you can say, excuse me, I really need to change my seat. So that's really good. Anything else anybody would have done?
I would just ignore it.
You would have ignored it. That's another way. Okay. Unless you have too many sticky lollipops on you.
I would ask the mother to switch seats.
You would ask the what?
The mother to switch seats with the son.
Okay, but yes, that's a good idea. Put the child at the end. That's why I was thinking, that's right, the child was to... How do you think the mother would have felt it? Especially Beth, how do you think she would have felt if Josh said, could you have your child switch seats? Do you think she would have done that? Gee, I don't know. You know, different people are different. That didn't come up. Do you have anyone in your life, example, grandparents, aunts, uncles, godparents, neighbors, who remind you of Josh's grandparents and why?
Well, my grandpa grandpa reminds me for Josh's grandpa, and my grandma reminds me of Josh's grandma because my grandma because my grandpa always yells at my grandpa because he's like, you're wrong, it's that way, and she's like, oh, and she's like, no, it's that way, and he doesn't like me drinking out of bottled water.
Oh, really? It sounds like a lot of grandparents aren't like that. Okay.
My grandma and grandpa are
Just like them. Wow, I think I might have been writing for the majority of grandparents. When Josh's grandpa said that nobody wore clothes with big bright colors when he was a kid, how did that make Josh feel? Surprised? Annoyed? Shocked?
Curious, like what they
Curious?
insulted.
Insulted? Okay. That his grandpa was really old. Has anybody ever said that to you, like a relative? What's that you're wearing? What are you, a belt too? Because guess what? That does happen over generations. And guess what? When you guys and girls grow up, get married, you'll be thinking that about your children. That's just the way of life, right, teachers? Absolutely. Okay, what were some of the things that Josh's grandparents did that made him want to go home?
The mothballs, I keep saying silly things.
The mothballs. Anybody ever hear that word, mothballs? You did? Wow, I didn't think you people even knew about mothballs. I think that Josh and his grandpa learned something from this experience. And what?
Yeah, his grandpa probably learned to do something like Josh instead. Josh learned to less insulting.
What were the two things going on that was very similar with Josh and his grandpa that they weren't doing at the start? They were both not doing something. When the grandpa wanted him to wear the outfit and Josh didn't want to, what was going on there that they were both doing that could have really changed things? Okay, that happens.
They weren't both being truthful.
They weren't truthful and they weren't what?
They weren't really communicating.
Thank you. Stand up. They weren't really communicating. Thank you. If there was any message that I wanted to give, is that people need to communicate. Always, when there's a lack of communication, big trouble, okay? You can always fix things, learn about yourself, learn about other people when you communicate. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have to say things that you're not comfortable with saying. Sometimes you have to tell people no. Sometimes teachers have to communicate something to their students that might sound harsh. Has that ever happened, teachers, that you had to communicate something to your students that might sound harsh, like, if you don't study more, you're going to fail, it's not going to work out? Okay, that's communicating. It's not easy for them to say that. And they're wishing, oh, I wish I didn't have to, but when they communicate it, it makes a change, and change is what we're looking for. So if Josh and his grandpa spoke to each other from the start, and if you notice, at the end, the grandpa, they both kind of take blame, and then they communicate, and everything suddenly gets fixed.
Who do you think was the most annoying?
Who do I think was the most annoying? Wow.
Tommy.
You know what? I guess Tommy. Tommy, little children can be annoying, but guess what? It's a part of learning, okay? And all of us, when we were little, were annoying. And it's okay, because they're a work in progress. So if you are around someone that's annoying, always think that they're learning, okay? But yeah, Tommy was, especially with the alphabet, woo, okay.
How long did it take you to write the book?
How long did it take me? Probably about 1 year. Because there was a lot of revising, okay? You just don't write a story and send it to a publisher. Just like you don't, and that's, has anybody, I don't know, was anybody ever in the audience here that I gave an author process talk? Okay, and that author process talked about what you have to do to be published. And one of the things you have to do is revise. And let me give you some advice. When you're doing a paper, an essay, a composition, and you hand it into your teachers, do not write it and hand it in. Read it over and over and over again until...
Well, thank you. Just on the ELA test last week, do we have to do the rough draft? I said, yes, you have to do the rough draft, and you're getting graded on it.
Okay.
Listen.
I reread my story, maybe 40 times. Kept finding errors. My publisher found errors. Bruce found errors. People who had helped me edit found errors. Punctuation, wrong spelling. And it happens in the most popular books out there. So it's not about just writing it. Oh yeah, I could have written it. Sure, I could have stayed up, but the revising is what takes a long time, and it should. Okay, where were we with questions for me? Wait, I'm sorry.
Who was the funnest character?
Who was the most fun character? I think I liked Grandma Doris. I think I liked her. I liked her, I think she was fun and caring, and I loved the way she cooked for Josh and how much she loved him. And do you think she had something in mind? This is a question I didn't write, but as I'm thinking, do you think Grandma Doris may have had something in mind when she presented Josh with dessert on the terrace and also pictures of him in the photograph book? Do you think she might have had something in mind because she knew that he was upset? Do you think she did that for a reason? Yes, she may have wanted him to see, hey, take a look at this. I know you're upset now, but we love you. She might have did that, and then those photographs, I bet your grandparents, aunts, uncles, godparents, I just bet they have photographs of you from lots of events in your life. Am I correct? Mm-hmm. Questions? Okay.
What's your favorite chapter?
What's my favorite chapter in the book? I would say the very last, when Josh goes back to the apartment and the communication on the terrace between his grandpa and him.
Why did you make the main character a boy instead of a girl?
Why did I make them? I've been asked that many times, and I think it's because I have a son. And when you're a parent and you see things, you usually see them through the eyes of your child. And I have to say the two novels that were written were through the eyes of a boy. But I really believe that girls could relate to this as well.